If you're financially well off and you're a kid, you could say, hey, let's see if I could get a life insurance policy on you. And then what I want you to do is just be able to spend all your cash between now and life expectancy. Mm-hmm. But if you happen to live beyond life expectancy, we'll use that cash value that has been accumulated inside the policy to continue to give you income in those later years. And when you die, all that money will be replenished back to us so that we'll be made whole and it wouldn't have been a sacrifice. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. Do you worry about loved ones, like your parents or kids, when it comes to their finances? Well, how can you help? What steps can you take that feel like love rather than judgment or pressure? How do you even approach this topic in the first place? If you want the best things for those you care about, here are some tips to help you help them. I like that. Help me, help you, Jerry. or it's the other way around. It's right, isn't it?
Well,
it's like, Rod, help me, help you, like in the Jerry Maguire.
Yeah,
you know.
I know what you're talking about, but I'm so bad with names and remembering details from
Rod
pop
Tidwell,
culture.
Jerry Maguire, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Tom Cruise.
Yeah. See, you're an expert in this.
I don't know if I'm an expert. I just, during COVID, I got to rewatch that. It was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Alessandra wrote in with a question that as I read it, it was a great reminder about how important money conversations are. Not only diving in and understanding your own money personality and your relationship with money, but maybe a partner or a spouse, but also with extended family. A lot of times we, at least I'll speak for myself, it's difficult to have those conversations about money, you know? And so the more we can get acclimated to having comfortable conversations with those that we love around money, any step that we can take in that direction is a good thing. And Alessandro's thinking about family here. Alessandro says this: I've been consuming financial books, podcasts, and videos ever since my son was born a few years ago, and I've started to apply the best advice, and I've been amazed at how much more comfortable I feel about my family's finances.
Nice.
However, it has made me even more concerned about my parents. They've been amazing parents, but unfortunately, they never received or sat out much by the way of financial education and have made many of the classic mistakes. They are both in their mid to late 60s now, and I fear that a lot of the tools that are available to me and my family, such as cash flow banking, are no longer available to or effective for them due to their age and their health concerns. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to talk to them into emptying out their 401k before it gets wiped out, since they can do so without a penalty right now. But at this point, I'm just not sure what to do with my money, even if they did. I guess my question is, what should we focus on at this point? Part of me thinks that we should focus on making it easier for us kids to support them financially once they retire by eliminating all of their debts and liquidating assets. The other part of me wants to focus on investing and expanding their income so they can support themselves.
Okay. So look, at one time, maybe 15 years ago, I approached my parents and I was like, hey, look, you guys have great credit. We could buy some real estate. I'll find the real estate. I'll pay for it. I'm like, Mom, you can kind of manage the property management company and, some of the payment structures, but, I'll handle the finances and all that kind of stuff. And it worked really well for a little while. Mm-hmm. Until in 2007, I'm like, let's sell all of it, which sounds amazing. But I was greedy SOB. I was like, no, let's sell it for 10, 15, 20% over market. We sold a few of them, did really well. I'm thinking, oh my God, this is going to be a 7-figure difference for me and my parents. And because I was greedy, when 2008 came, all of a sudden lending changed drastically and we ended up with a bunch of those properties and ended up with a bunch of negative cash flow and, created a lot of stress and worry for my parents. And I mean, we got through it, but I was really hoping this was going to be like just a gold mine for them in this years of, in their 60s and everything, and it didn't quite work out. Part of it's because, I neglected to really become an expert in real estate. Mm-hmm. I had good success in it during good times. Yeah. And I like the quote that Warren Buffett says, you find out who's swimming naked when the tide rolls back, right?
That's a good one.
So confusing luck and skill. And so be careful, because first you have to know investor DNA, and are they willing to get educated, and are they willing to go down this path to know what's going on? Because you don't want to take on all the burden and pressure and not have it work out, because there could be a lot of guilt that comes with that. There could be a lot of stress that comes with that. And it's pretty late in the game. But if they're willing to get educated, if they get excited like Alessandro has with having a son and reading and feeling more comfortable, great. There could be study groups. Like, one of the good tests that I would do is just play the game Cash Flow from Cash Flow Technologies and Robert Kiyosaki. It's a really good game. It gives you a good sense of, I mean, I wish that deals were as easy as they are in that game, but ultimately, just kind of see what their thinking is, how they feel. You get to know a sense of things, and it could be something fun. If that goes well, that might open up more conversations. There might be some more things to talk about. If this is something that creates scarcity and fear, then maybe it is best to just pay off the loans. Maybe it is just good to get rid of all those kind of things and make sure that they have a stable foundation that way, because they don't want to invest further in their own education or going down this route. And what you don't want to do is create contention amongst the family with good intentions but poor execution, right? Fortunately, my family's awesome. They forgave me. They're doing okay overall, but it definitely wasn't what I had hoped for. And so now that's not something that I steer them towards, right? It's just not the process.
So I guess for me, I'm wondering, as a child, or, an adult child, if your parents aren't in the position that you hope that they would be in at the time of retirement, how do you initiate conversations? Because I do feel like I can relate to Alessandro, and I think many people can, you feel a burden and you want to care for your parents and you want to make sure that they're in a good position. Like, how do you breach conversations around money? Because if they're not financially in a place where they're going to be taken care of when they need it, it's almost like the onerous and the burden falls on the children. And if the children aren't in a financially solid place, that feels very overwhelming. So it's almost like, I guess what I'm trying to say, if your parents didn't take responsibility, or if they just didn't know what to do, or they did their best and it still wasn't like enough for their own retirement, like, how do you not take that on as your own
the conversations that my siblings and I have had with my parents, and my parents are diligent with saving. They're, they really did so many good things.
Yeah.
Even though, like my dad was a coal miner, there'd be layoffs, there'd be strikes, they went through a lot to get to this point. Because I just said, hey, inheritance is you guys having a good retirement. Like, just enjoy life. Like, we don't need anything. We're okay. And we'll take care of each other. Right. Because my parents just were like, are my grandkids going to be okay? Are they going to learn all these things? Can they handle all these things? And so that's part of their DNA. And it's like, hey, we'll work on that together. But, we're in a place where it's like, just make sure that you take care of yourself and enjoy your life. Because if I got $0 upon their death, but they enjoyed their life, that's so much better than receiving any cash. Right.
I agree with that. Like, the gift of living life on your terms and living your best life. That is a gift to children, to see their parents do that. And that's a great reminder.
And if you're
Garrett,
financially well off and you're a kid, you could say, hey, let's see if I could get a life insurance policy on you. And then what I want you to do is just be able to spend all your cash between now and life expectancy. But if you happen to live beyond life expectancy, we'll use that cash value that has been accumulated inside the policy to continue to give you income in those later years. And when you die, all that money will be replenished back to us, so that we'll be made whole, and it wouldn't have been a sacrifice. So that, I think, is a pretty cool strategy. Something that my grandparents were able to do is use that strategy, and they really were great at helping out their kids and grandkids. And they were frugal and really pretty overall smart with their money. But came from a town that even when they died, their home wasn't worth $40,000, but they were able to do that and leave behind more money to their kids, which 2 of them had kidney transplants shortly after their death. And all the co-pays and everything was taken care of from an inheritance, simply because they had insurance. Now, that insurance might not provide the same returns on cash value, has to be, structured. We used something called an economics, which gave more death benefit with not having as much cash value. Then when my grandma died, it kind of replenished. That meant they could spend all the money that they had if they needed to or wanted to, and never have to be worried about a burden to their kids. Their kids could have helped fund it if they lived even longer, or use that cash to help supplement their lifestyle. So that was just one strategy. But I do think just playing this game, cash flow, quadrant, maybe even start as simple as Monopoly just to see how people operate. We just played that as a family. And
The
my
game that
youngest
never
son,
ends.
my youngest son started talking mad game like he was going to win. I'm like, seriously? like, do you know what I do for a living by any chance? I mean, and I showed no mercy. I won the game, but it was like, that's a good, like, I'm watching my kids and how they think and what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, they're ready for cash flow now. That's going to be the next level. But it lets you understand. And I think taking the quiz that we have at Wealth Factory, if we could put that link in there to understand the money persona. It's at a version 1 right now, but that money persona quiz will help you understand if they're a miser on their shadow persona or a conservative. This is not a good game for them to go try to grow their money. And if you think you're going to take all that burden on your own, just be careful, but understand the risks. I like the thought of no debt, no owing nothing, all that from a peace of mind. You got to understand, do they have peace of mind around that? Or would they like to have performance? And sometimes those can go hand in hand. Other times peace of mind trumps everything. One of my really good friends is an entrepreneur. And when he left the corporate world to be an entrepreneur, had a really, really cheap mortgage and could do better with his money than the mortgage cost him. But his wife said, I'd feel better if we had this paid off before you started your career. And he sold, I think, 19 businesses when it was all said and done and paid that off.
That's
so
incredible.
even though he could have out-earned it, he created that stability. So look at the foundational pieces first, initiate a conversation, play some games, see what they think, and then just ask them, really get clear about what they want. They might want to dive in books. They might want to watch this channel. They might want to do those things, or they might say, I just want to spend time with the grandkids. I just want to enjoy this phase of my life. And so don't push your values onto them. Discover their values. If they align, move forward. If they don't,
advice.
support them to have what they want.
Yeah, really good advice, Garrett.
All right. Turn your thoughts into profits and build a life that you love. You can have them go to wealthfactory.com/megakit if they want to read Killing Sacred Cows or What Would Billionaires Do or have a cash flow guide. That might be a great way to start the conversation. There's tons of questions in Killing Sacred Cows. Those questions can help facilitate something, and I gave you some of the games I thought that might be useful. So go out there. Love your life. Want to master your money? Want to figure out the things that you could do to improve your finances? Click here and check out more videos like this on Money Matters.